the Andy Snowden Radio Show. It's the Andy Snowden Radio Show. It's the Andy Snowden Radio Show. It's the Andy Snowden Radio Show.
Yes, indeed, this is the Stage and Screen Show with me, Andy Snowden, here on 105 Calon FM, and coming straight ahead, direct from New York City, the incomparable Nell Bryden. She's next.
Last night, the sirens, the city will rise.
Nell Bryden is a singer-songwriter hailing from New York City, whose work boasts almost every genre of music, including rock, pop, jazz, bluegrass and country, to forge a unique style of her very own. This June, she visits the UK on her postponed UK tour, and following the theme of her previous two singles, Dancing in Chains and Gaslight, Nell Bryden kicks off the new year with the ultimate feminist item statement, a fierce song called I Am the Storm. And I am thrilled to say we are joined by Nell Bryden direct from New York City. Hello.
How are you?
All very good, thank you. Yes, trying to get back to some normality, but you know, it is what it is, isn't it, I suppose?
Surely, after this latest round, we must be getting back to some degree of normalcy. You guys are going for it a bit more in England, I think, than, you know, well, in the UK than we are, you know.
You're absolutely right. We're either a little bit laid back or a little bit too stringent, I think.
Yeah, I know. Sort of same thing here, but that's state by state. So New York is still kind of stringent. We're all still wearing masks. Mm-hmm. Everybody's boosted, vaccinated, all that kind of stuff. And then you go down to Florida and it's as if the pandemic never happened. Yeah. Like they're just outside, no masks, like no regard. So yeah, it's pretty wild.
Fantastic. Right. Well, it's lovely to have you back on the show. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. I've got loads of questions for you.
Thank you. Okay, lots of questions. Good. Okay.
Great. So I'll start by, I don't know, we're into February now, so I don't know if I can still say Happy New Year, but yes. I'm going to say it anyway. Happy New Year. Did you have a nice one?
Happy New Year. And a New Year it is, whether it's happy or not. So here we go.
Did you have a good time? Is it a nice Christmas for you?
I had a lovely Christmas. It was really nice. I went up to Boston with my daughter and we were around my cousins, and I love to cook. So I cooked for the whole family. So I made probably the best turkey I've ever made. It was delicious.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, it was really lovely. And then New Year's was very quiet because, you know, we weren't going to go out and do all the sort of fireworks displays. They were they were very tamped down this year. And it was, you know, I have a 7-year-old. So, you know, what's the point of paying for a babysitter to go on that night when you can just go any other night instead? So, yeah. Quiet.
Exactly. And the last time we spoke was actually at the end of 2020 with it was your single at the time. It was We Need a Christmas. Awesome. And you know how much I love that track. But we had a new one this year, 2021. Home for Christmas is the management badgering you for one a year now. Is that how it is?
If only there were management. I need help. So sadly, the buck always stops with me, and that means all the problems also stop with me. So no, I love that song. So I ended up, you know, I think there's probably a last couple of years have been a sort of degree of, you know, feeling a bit more nostalgic and cozy and, you know, wanting to kind of come together and sort of musically and also physically. So it's tugs at the heartstrings, especially around Christmas.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. And as I say, you know how much I love the We Need a Christmas. I thought it was. I actually got quite emotional this Christmas when I played it, and I thought, oh, it's been a year. And, you know, it's such a. It hit the nail on the head for 2020, that's for sure. But now you've got a brand new track out. It's called I Am the Storm. We'll talk about that in a moment if that's okay. But as you know, I am unapologetically a massive fan of your work.
I love you, Andy. You're amazing.
It's such a unique style. It's you know, I'm wondering though, as your style is, have you always had it, or did you have to work at it?
Yeah, I don't think I always did have it. When I was younger, I thought I was going to be a classical musician. And then I realized I really didn't have what it was going to take to be play the cello. But I come from a classical family, so I thought that, you know, you can be a musician, that's what you do. Then I thought, well, I'll be an opera singer. So I loved Maria Callas. So I thought, oh, I'll be like that. But then I don't have the voice for opera like that. That's just not the kind of voice that I have. And also, I didn't love the idea of playing an existing repertoire that everybody else had played and much better than I had before me and would after me too. So I liked the idea of kind of, more improvisation and doing things that were not the same every time. So that led me to jazz. And then I was following in the footsteps of my heroes like Billie Holiday and Sarah Vaughan and Ella Fitzgerald. But then I would sort of change the lyrics of the jazz standards just to kind of make them my own. And I recall people kind of saying, you shouldn't do that. Gershwin got it right. You don't need to change it. So then me being like, well, what should I do then? Maybe I'll just write songs, because I was listening to Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin and Bob Dylan and thinking, oh, well, maybe that's what I should do. So I picked up a guitar, and at that point, I never really looked back. I think my style has always been the dreaded word eclectic, because I can't really land on any particular style. I think that there's degrees of me. Like, I love Annie Lennox. I think you can really hear that sort of coursing through the music. Equally, I love, Carole King and people that really have a sense of songwriting as a form and as a craft, and as something that really is to be valued and honored as a format for expressing these emotions. I love the craft of songwriting. That's really appealing to me. It's a very roundabout answer of saying no. I have no idea how my style came about.
No, I love it. But of course, your mother was an awesome singer. She was quite a famous singer, and I think in society we kind of think, well, if the parents are good, then it's not really that bit much of a surprise if you're that good. But it doesn't actually. It shouldn't really work like that. It's an individual thing, of course.
Well, it certainly is an individual thing, but there were a couple of things I had working to my advantage. So singing is obviously a physical, genetic composition of your vocal cords. So I was lucky to inherit my mother's vocal cords. Yeah. But then also I grew up around music. So there was a normality to it that I don't think a lot of other people going into the music business necessarily had. So my parents, I never had to convince them that it was a worthwhile life ambition to be an artist of sorts, because they were themselves. And so they already understood that was an honorable and difficult and challenging and worthy thing to do with your life. Whereas I think a lot of people are up against it because their parents say, you want to what? You want to do this?
Yeah.
And I had parents that were like, no, you can't quit now. Of course it's hard, but you got to keep going. This is who you are. And that was incredibly important, because it is so hard to do this. And, I was laughing with somebody else the other day who's also in the arts. And we were talking about how it's like you talk to people who are very young starting out and they go, well, it hasn't happened for me. And I'm 24. And you go, oh my God. You know? And so you have to assume that it's going to be a very, 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 very slow build with a sad ending. That's basically the way it always works in the art. This is a very slow build, then you get to a plateau, and then it's got a sad ending. So don't do it for the accolades. Do it because you're drawn to do it. There's nothing else you could do, and you must, communicate somehow this creativity that is living within you. That's the only reason to do it.
Well, I was listening the other day. Do you know the song Mr. Tanner from Harry Chapin?
I know it, but not very well, but I do know. Yeah.
Well, this is quickly. It's a story about a guy who's a brilliant singer, but he's not a professional, and all his friends push him into doing it. And when they push him into doing it, he kind of falls on his face a little bit. But I was listening to it the other day, and it's really sad. a lot of Harry Chapin songs are a little bit sad. But
I actually remember that one particularly, yeah.
But I wondered if there was a time for you when you actually realised that you were capable of making a living out of it, as opposed to just being a really good singer who's, probably good on a karaoke machine.
Well, when you say capable of making a living, I think this is an ongoing process, my dear. I mean, you have to cobble together however you possibly can hustle in this world. And there, especially with the music business, there is, it changes all the time, and the distribution and the medium of it changes and has changed so radically in my own lifetime. When I was a kid, I was buying cassette tapes and then CDs, and then the music business got really bloated and greedy, thinking they could just charge everybody again for CDs. And then Napster came out. Remember Napster?
Yeah.
And and then we all went to this streaming model, which has taken a long time for the artists to be able to make anything from that. But throughout this, I remained independent. So, which was both a blessing and a curse. It's been really hard because I haven't had, the major label machinery behind me, but equally I own my masters. And so I also owned my publishing for a while before I got a publishing deal. So I still own it. But so I think that the short answer is there is no easy right way to make a living, and I have not been somebody that had the huge fame for 15 minutes and then sort of tried to always chase that afterwards. It's been a very long, slow build for me, which has in some ways also made it possible for me to continue to do music every day, because I've had to be resourceful as I've gone along the whole time, and so that means that my commitment to continue doing it is ever strong. Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to make myself feel better. I wish I had money.
But on that basis of the the 15 minutes elbowed into the business quickly, do you see programs like shows like the X Factor and Pop Idol, and do you despair at that, or do you kind of think, well, that's just another way in for them, so so be it?
I want to say I don't despair at it. I do despair at it a bit, but it's also such a part of the culture that it is absolutely a way in for people, and many people have gone in that way. I think the system again spits them out. I mean, they don't go in and get a fantastic record deal. It all looks great from the outside, but they don't own any of those songs. They don't really make that much money, and they're kind of turned into these workhorses. And then I think it's there's a tragedy to it as well, but they do get fame, and if that's important to them, then that's one way to do it.
Yeah.
It would never be for me, I think, because I think that the kind of music that I want to do is not competitive by nature. It's something that I'm trying to reach people on a very emotional level, and it's not like I'm going to compete to win. I'm really actually, my life calling, I've realized again and again, is to be part of your soundtrack in your life as you are going through it. That somebody that is adding a song to your soundtrack that allows you to feel love and appreciation for being alive through all the trials and the struggles and the tribulations that we go through. But if I can be one small part of that soundtrack to help you feel your life in a way that is more authentic, then I have done my life's work. That is what I want, because artists have done that for me. Every time I hear Donny Hathaway, A Song for You, I cry. That helps me access a certain part of my emotional brain that I can't otherwise. And that's magical. That's just magical to me, that music has that power. I've seen that again and again. I went and played for the British and the American troops over in Iraq a couple of times, and I realized again and again, music has this way of reaching people emotionally through a side door that we don't have our guard up. So, you might not think you're talking to a therapist, but in a way you're accessing all these same emotions and feelings that are life, that we all have. So that's, I think, why the idea of standing up and competing to try to win never really appealed to me, because it's much more of an intimate process in my mind.
Yeah. And like the true professional that you are, you've led us beautifully onto your new track. I mean, I Am the Storm. It is, it's based on something that I think we all wish we never have to face in our lives. But you've faced it head on. Tell us about it.
Well, there's a strong thematic thread going through the entire new album, and that is the breakdown of my marriage. Unfortunately, I never wanted this to happen. I'm a child of divorce myself. It was deeply distressing and depressing to go through this, but you also cannot pretend things are other than they are. And I think going through this process, there were a lot of different emotions. As they say, I think grief has a lot of different stages for people. And this was written on a day when the rage that had been brewing within me came out with a force that I was shocked by. It just came out in this, like, I will be heard, and you cannot tell me that I should feel a certain way, or I should be a certain person, or should be saying certain things. I am not that. Here is who I am. And now you will listen to that. And it was sort of a manifesto for myself more than anything else. And then once I'd released it, I realized this is something that really appealed and spoke to a lot of different people. The women especially have related to this, but that sense of like being a people pleaser your whole life, and then suddenly you just can't do it anymore. You just have to be living for you and nobody else. I mean, as a mother, it's sort of like putting your oxygen on. If the plane is crashing, you got to put your oxygen on first and then save everybody else. And I never was putting my own oxygen on. I was just taking care of everybody else, and it just boiled over.
When you sit down to write something of that, I mean, the emotion in it is just, I mean, it's just there to see. I mean, there's no getting away from that. Do you sit down specifically to write that, or are you midway through and think, actually, this is leading on to what I really want to say? How does it work?
Well, that one, I tried to avoid it because it was so personal, and I thought that it would hurt certain people if it got out. But then I just couldn't avoid it. It just came out, and I thought, well, if I'm just not gonna write what's really in my heart, then what am I doing this for? You know, maybe I'll just write a song and it will never see the light of day, but this must come out. And that's what ended up happening. And I remember being scared after I'd written it because it was just so personal.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, I can never get away with writing this, with releasing this. But I think you have to do things that scare you a little bit in order to reach that sort of authentic level that I'm attempting to reach.
Is it a cathartic experience, I wonder, to do something like that? Does it help? Is it almost like a bit of therapy for you?
Yeah. But I think it is, because also singing is moving of energy. It's, literally the physics of it is a moving of vibrations and frequencies out of your body, out into the world, and how those sounds, how those sonic frequencies react within the environment that you're in. So I know that's a sort of scientific take on it, but there's a physicality to the catharsis of singing that really allows the energy to move out, especially with a song that's just, like a real song, like to sing it high and a lot of energy in this one. I'm really, singing in my chest voice. So I really have to kind of connect with my diaphragm in order to get this out. And then I think that's a kind of release there. There's an actual physics to it as well.
Because I often wonder, because obviously you're about to go on tour, you're coming over to the UK. Fingers crossed. I've said this the last two times I've spoken to you, and they've both been postponed. Will this be in the set? Will this be a good one to play live?
Oh, of course. It's going to be so much fun to play live. Because also I think it's something, I'm about to release the video of it. And in the video, I have a number of different actresses that are going through their own journeys at the same time that I'm going through this journey of singing as well. And that was what I was getting across. So this is sort of a movement. I mean, it sounds really pretentious to say I've written a movement. I haven't, but I've written something that has affected other people and that they can relate to in a way that feels like it's more of a collective effort than just me. Once I'd written the song, it got bigger than just me, and it was refreshing and inspiring.
Yeah, I got to ask you, because I saw you on social media. Ken Bruce was about to play, I think it was the world premiere of it on Radio 2. I've really got to know what that feels like, because you look so, even at the, you've been doing it for 10, 15 years, or however long you've been doing it, to have it get its first airplay on the BBC. I mean, the excitement for you looked like it was the first time you'd ever heard yourself on the radio.
Oh, it never gets old. It was amazing, especially for this song, because again, this song was so private, and then to have it come out and then to have it be on, Radio 2 like that was just sort of, oh my God, really, it's wild. It's totally wild to have that experience. And yeah, I mean, I think that's why somebody on my team was like, you've got to record you watching it. And I was like, well, it's kind of, like, I'm not sure I want it, like 6 a.m. Like, that's not my best hour, but I think it's important for people to see how it really affects us musicians. It's not just like, especially with an artist like myself, it's not like some huge machinery that's sort of surrounding me. I'm just out there doing the best I can. And when I have these moments, these glimmers of triumph, and that's a big word, I don't use that lightly, then I think it's important for you to see how much I appreciate that.
Oh yeah, definitely. And of course, you famously have said that you never listen to your work again once you've released it. Is that still true?
Yeah. So again, when you were watching me watch that world premiere, I hadn't heard the song in a really long time, like since I recorded it and put it out. Because I can't listen to music as a background music. It's in my head. Like, it's never background music. So often I will be having a conversation with somebody and it'll be infuriating for them because I can't listen and talk to them while there's something going on, and there's music everywhere in the world, and I'm like analyzing, oh, they went to the bridge here, or they went to the middle eight here, or they did this, and they did that. Yeah. So if I'm listening to my own music, it's doubly frustrating because I'm like, oh, I should have done that differently. I didn't think that out with that. Oh, that part worked well. Why didn't I do that again? Yeah.
Because I often wonder, because obviously, you say you've got a 7-year-old daughter now, and she's going to want to listen to all your work soon, and is that going to be torture for you, or will you just say listen to it in your room?
Oh, it was so funny the other day because she was like at a friend's house and she goes, Alexa, play Nell Bryden. I was like, Alexa, turn off. I was like, Alexa, turn off.
Oh, fantastic. Because I always think as well, because obviously, as I say, you're about to go on tour, so there must be a case of having to almost relearn your own songs. Is that fair?
Yeah. Well, especially now because there's been such a break. Oh my God.
Yeah. So you could rectify anything that you wanted to rectify there, I suppose.
You mean as in like I could practice it different? Well, I've always sort of had my live versions be a little different than recorded versions. I think that's sort of frustrating for fans sometimes because they're like, you never play it like it is on the record. I'm like, well, I just play it like I want to play it right now. Yeah. And I think that's frustrating for people sometimes because they've heard the song a certain way so many times, but maybe they don't realize that if you play it exactly the same as that, it just gets boring to the performer. So you have to have a way that it still stays fresh in your mind. And so anyway, there we go.
All right, brilliant. Nell, it's an absolute treat to speak to you as always. Thank you ever so much for that. I really appreciate it.
Oh, I love talking to you. You're such a joy. Thank you. Thanks for being here with me for the years.
Yeah, no worries at all. And I look forward to your next Christmas offering. And I will definitely.
Maybe I'll write a Valentine's Day song this year.
That's what you should do. You've written the breakup song. Let's have the falling in love song.
Right, exactly. A love song to myself.
Nell Bryden, as always, love you to the bone. Thank you ever so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Cheers.
Okay, Annie, take care of yourself. Lovely to see you.
Ta-da.
Bye.
Bye.
What gives you the right to try to change the truth? I am the storm.
Wow. Isn't that exceptional? I Am the Storm, Nell Bryden, out now. Go get it. And don't forget, the Singles Collection UK tour is in June of this year. Kicks off on the 9th of June in Birmingham and travels all over the UK, stopping off in Shrewsbury on the 22nd at the Henry Tudor House. Always a pleasure to have Nell Bryden on the show. Wonderful, brilliant.
It's the Andy Snowden Radio Show. It's the Andy Snowden Radio Show. It's the Andy Snowden Radio Show. It's the Andy Snowden Radio Show.